Hello and welcome to Imagine Landscapes for May, sort of. This would
Ish.
normally be our May, but we're doing it end of April because that's the only way it'll happen at all.
Yeah,
And now I need to go over and try to find us
on
on
YouTube. I
YouTube.
don't
And
see us there yet, but we'll get there eventually.
there we are. I got us.
April.
Oh, as you can hear. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Usually that works a little more smoothly, but I am also trying to cast on stitches as I do this. So I'm like,
Oh, you're like seriously multitasking
I
there.
am. It's a little ridiculous.
Why
Um,
don't we start with what tea are you drinking, my dear sister?
I'm drinking English breakfast from Twinings black because I've tried to go away from as much milk and sweetness as I miss it so much. I really do. But
Yeah.
I have managed to switch over. I can't do it with orange pico, but I can do it with English breakfast, which I find interesting.
Since they are essentially the same thing.
Mhm. I mean, it is a different black tea leaf, right? Like,
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you for
but
saying hi, Nora. So we know that folks are, there we go. More folks are coming in the chat. I ran out of time today, so I am drinking untea.
nature's tea,
Just
unlike
water.
regular tea.
Just water. Yep. I'd rather be having tea, but
Yeah. Well, it's like that
sometimes.
quote from Avatar when Zuko's in one of his moodiest states ever, and he's like, "Uncle, it's just like hot leaf juice," or he's like, this tea just tastes like hot leaf juice," and Zuko's like, "It's all hot leaf juice," and his uncle then gets so outraged. No, my tea is better. So, Katie, you're doing like the funkiest thing ever.
Yeah, I saw that. I just took my camera off and put it back on.
You're looking good now, and hopefully it catches up on YouTube because that was weird. I've never seen that. That was,
No, me either. That was particularly fun.
yeah. All right. So now that we've talked about our hot leaf juice or lack thereof, um,
We sh-
we,
we we should introduce ourselves for
yeah,
folks who maybe don't know who we are. We got off on the wrong foot there. Hi.
I'm
You
Sarah.
usually go first.
Well, you
I
just
know.
sounded like you were so ready. So I'm Sarah. Online, I'm also known as Imagine Landscapes, and because my business was named that, we named the podcast that. But it's not meant to be like it's me plus Katie. Like that's not the vibe. Although I can see where people get that.
Yeah. I do the important work of sound editing here. I am Katie, also known as Aurora114 online. And yeah, this is the show and tell version of our every other week audio only podcast. So thank you for joining. Aw, Barb. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, folks, and subscribe and all that jazz. So
And there's a
thank you.
bell. You can hit a bell to find out when we're going live if you happen to be on YouTube watching something else.
It's true, it's true. Yeah, so there because I'm late today to getting going, we haven't had a chance to chit chat. But I remember you saying earlier that you have a bunch of stuff, and as per usual, I do not.
More than usual.
I have four
Total or finished objects?
total. I only have one finished object because I showed off the wrap and run last time,
That's
and
true.
it's at work. And I actually need to just like scooch over there by the door to get the other finished project that I'm going to show off today. So why don't you start? I'm going to
Hi,
put myself
Sarah.
on mute, and you get going with, I'm sure, a bunch of notes and some
I do
socks.
have I do have two gnomes. Two of the four finished objects I'm going to talk about today are gnomes. They are related. A friend of mine is a fan of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as am I. If I am cheering for someone in the Canadian Football League, the CFL, I am cheering for the Roughriders. However, not so much that I actively seek out football games. But he wanted something to give to his friend, who I believe is like that is an Edmonton Eskimos. No, they renamed the team. Anyways, an Edmonton fan, and I think then the idea was to give them the rivalry. Like I'm going to give you the gnome, and haha, you have to put it up in your physiotherapy office because I gave it to you, and then your fan, like it was supposed to be this rivalry thing. So I made a really great gnome, but then I was like, what? I kind of worry that this one's going to end up in the garbage. Um, so I'm going to send along at least one more so that Kevin, my friend, can decide which one if this is the way I remember, because it was a conversation a few months ago. So anyways, this is the original Saskatchewan Rough Riders gnome.
Look at that beard and that football, Sarah. That's so cute.
I know.
Oh,
And
that's so
people have been
cute.
asking for a football gnome for a while. So the odds are that I will be publishing the football pattern, kind of the way I did the little tiny ice cream pattern.
Yeah.
The beard though, it's always so much fun for me when I can do a beard that isn't a pattern beard because I'm usually partnering with a dyer. Dyers don't carry fun fur. They carry minis and the minis are fingering weight. So most of my gnome beards are fingering weight. If it's a fingering weight gnome, fairly, like just knitting. Whereas this is, I mean,
Yeah,
low.
that's so fun.
Uh, I have I have what I call my beard box. And it is a box of yarn specifically for
Nice.
beards. I shot a video of this, but I put it in a nicer box for for YouTube. So as I'm traveling, there's going to be a post with this, but kind of like a liar version. But like the yarn, like I've got a little bit of that cashmere. Remember that cashmere yarn I found that worked as a substitute for mohair? This is the only white ball I bought because I didn't know they were gonna stop carrying that line. And
Yeah.
then I've got like Woolfolk Flet, which is a great texture,
Yeah.
and I've got some fluffy ones. I've got this that was like from a really, really big gnome that I did. But like, what do you like? This is rope. I
Yeah.
don't even know like what I'm gonna do this, but I've got it. This is the last bit of it, so I'm keeping it. So yeah, and then there's also just like randomly beards that I knit and then didn't do anything with. Some of them are failed prototypes. Like, oh, I was like, oh, maybe I want the beard a little deeper rather than it's too shallow or whatever. So I've just got like I've got a couple noses in here. I also have another place where I've got more just disembodied gnome parts, but this is the beard section. And so when I get to do something that's not for uh a design, like with the beard box, when I remember, sometimes I'm just sitting there doing what I'm doing. So then, like I said, I was a little worried that this one was too fabulous to be given to a rival.
Yeah. It's
So I
it's
made,
the Edmonton Elks. I looked that up.
yeah, I knew they were working on changing the name, but I don't think I ever heard what it was. Or maybe I heard it once and then never
Yeah.
again.
Just didn't stick. Yeah.
Yeah, which is wonderful. So then I made another one, and it's funny, it on camera, it never looks like this beard is straight. So I have to maybe block it or something. In person, it looks pretty good. Anyways, this is sort of another one. I was thinking I'd do another little football.
Yeah.
And then maybe one more. I am running very low of the green.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's a big gnome.
yeah. And it's mostly green, like between the stripes are bigger in the green on this
Yeah.
gnome and the body. It's Envy from Leading Men Fiber Arts. It turns out having someone hand you like 170 minis to design from does give you a little bit of leeway for like, oh no, I don't have a yarn on hand.
Yeah,
What do I
yeah.
do? There's some choice now. So yeah, I really like this, but I am running low. So I want to do one more. Um, but we'll see. Maybe with a lot more white because this black is so dark.
It is dark. Yeah.
And I've got three lights on in here and a huge natural light situation going on. So those are two gnomes that I finished, and they're so fun.
Yeah, they are. Somebody has a question about a pattern in the chat there. Sarah, what's your preferred way of having people send you pattern questions? Email?
I mean, the best thing's actually to ask in the thread on Ravelry for that clue because there are always people online. and they will answer faster than I will.
Yeah, fair.
If they know. And a lot of the moderators are test knitters, so they've gone through the pattern once already. So when a moderator answers, you can sort of take it like it's basically a someone, it's not like it's me, but it's someone who's experienced the pattern. Anyways, you're on row 24. So Claire, there are directions for whatever you want your center point to be. It says to place it like 11 stitches. Let me do the math here. 11 stitches counterclockwise of that. So whatever you want to be the front of your gnome, count backwards, like what you just knit, 20 or 11 stitches. That will be your beginning of round. If that makes sense. If you've seen what clue 4 becomes, you're saying, although you're saying row 24, I bet you mean round 24. Anyways, if you're on clue 4 and we're talking about the same thing, yes, it is. We're in the round and you will be knitting counterclockwise or placing your thing counterclockwise 1/4 of the stitches on the needles. Do I ever check for alternative cashmere, Lang Cashmere Dreams or Osterman Cashmere Clad? No, Nora, I haven't. I'm going to quickly copy and paste those from the chat before oh, I can't. Shoot. Uh, Katie, while you talk, I'm going to write those things down in my planner because thank you, Nora. Yeah, I need cashmere that's kind of fluffy and yet borderline lace weight to do a lot of the stuff like,
Yeah.
although I mean the big fluffy stuff, obviously. It's a very expensive way to do a beard, though. I'm just gonna be honest. If I'm doing big cashmere, that's big love.
Yeah. So I have one FO, and it's a pair of fingerless mitts. I knit these while traveling to go see the total solar eclipse. They are made with some of the leftover yarn from my wrap and run. So this is just the yellow on its own. In the wrap and run, it's mostly held duplicate or double with one of the grays. I'm happy that there's not a whole lot of flashing or pooling. There's a little bit of gathering of some of the dark, but I actually don't really mind it. And yeah, they fit nicely. I need to quickly look up the name of the pattern because honestly, I knit them, 2 weeks ago and
You
in
don't
so
need that
fast
information now.
that like, yeah, why would my brain hold on to that? It's called Pilea DK by Hagen Huset, Hagenhuset. Information on my blog. I don't track projects on Ravelry anymore, so I have a blog where I do that. So links are there, and you can always find links to any of the projects that we talk about in this on the audio episode links. There's always show notes for those, and Sarah on her blog or website is much more able to create dynamic show notes, whereas YouTube is a little more limited.
It's
So if
really
you're ever
messy.
wondering about something that we're talking about on this visual one, go to Sarah's website, look for the most recent show notes, and follow the links. Rav links are marked as such, so folks can't use it there. So yeah, they are comfy, they are DK, and they're going to live at work for the times when the air conditioning is absolutely frigid.
Too much.
Yeah, and I sit right next to a big window, and so it just bounces off the window right onto me, and it's excessive.
It
So
seems
that's
so
my,
wild that so many corporate offices can't get this right. It's expensive to change the temperature of a building.
well,
Like,
and
why are we failing this?
it's just our floor that seems, I think there's 2 floors that seem to be this bad. And like this building has won awards for its air systems and accessibility and all sorts of stuff. And so it's wild.
Yeah. So it's
Anyway,
even an incompetent building just generally.
well, it's one of those things where like the actual HVAC for each business is run by like that. My workplace is responsible for its own air system. And
Right.
so the building no longer has control, but anyway, it's not a thing that we need to spend time talking about right now, but it is excessive.
But
So
I mean, it generates great knitting content
it
because you are
does.
knitting warm, woolly things at a time when most people are like, "Where's my cotton? Where's my linen?"
Yep, indeed. You have two more FOs?
I do. So the first one are socks, which
What? I'm so surprised.
uh,
Hey,
look at
I
how
love
nicely these
colors.
match.
I love those colors.
These are Mud Punch, Moody in the Heart. And the only way they don't match is the heels, because I always just grab the other end of the ball and pull off a little bit and then start knitting. I must have messed with it a little bit because I remember when I got to the second one, I was going to be starting with this gold based on like where I'd left, like I'd used up enough for the first one that the next thing that was going to happen was gold on gold. So I must have just kind of like pulled ahead a little bit from what I remember. But what that does, and the reason I do that is that when you are looking at the front of the foot, which is where most people's time is spent looking at their hand knitted socks and other people's socks. So rather than the side view, what it does is it goes like this, and it looks like the color sequence is just uninterrupted, right? Whereas
Yeah,
if I were to do the thing where I kept knitting the heel and did the heel turn, I would jump some stripes. And depending on the colorway, that is more or less visible. Lots of times it doesn't bother me, but now that I've thought of this solution, having two more ends to weave in here doesn't really bug me. And this is just such a nice way. One of the stripes is always quite skinny, and that's the one right at the pickup and everything. Like
yeah,
there's a lot of stitches there, but again, it depends on the colorway, how visible that is. And usually because your foot is a little folded there,
yeah.
because
It's not
the
as apparent.
yeah, it just goes so nicely. So anyways, these are really fun, and I haven't worn them yet because I finished them just this week, and I've actually been going barefoot in my shoes a lot. I pulled out my summer shoes, and I've been trying to wear them to get my feet summer
Used to
ready,
them.
because when we travel, I'm not taking many shoes, and I better not blister.
Smart. Yep.
I haven't been wearing socks, so they
I
are
need
very new.
to I need to find my little suckettes that are just like the ones that just hide in the shoes.
Yeah,
Because like my feet get smelly enough that I don't want to. Like I have work shoes at work, and I just kind of like keep a pair in my desk
yeah,
to wear while I'm there. And I brought them home to wash them, and now I need to find them and take them back to work.
yeah. Or just buy some more on the way to work. Stop at a Shoppers Drug Mart or something like that. Those
Yep.
places always have a few pairs of those.
Yep. I've actually
If
been thinking
you're,
of that. There's a few drugstores kind of
yeah.
on route. Um, uh, are you done with? No, I'm out of FOs. Are you, Sarah? One more. Go for it.
Yeah. We talked last time about the brown mushrooms that were coming out as a pattern. And those came out, the Wee Mushroom Trio. There are still a few days to get them for 50% off. Can't remember the code off the top of my head. I think it's Sweet Trio because it's called the Wee Mushroom Trio, and I think they're really sweet. Um, anyways, despite me prepping for the knit along that I'm currently running and doing a bunch of stuff to be ready to go on holidays, plus getting my travel ready, knitting ready, not so very ready, as you will see, I just was like actually really high priority is getting a red mushroom set knit.
Of course. Of course.
Because hello,
They're so cute, Sarah.
I'm so happy.
They're so cute.
I'm so happy.
Oh my gosh. I love them so much. Yeah.
So these two are stuffed with both. The stems are stuffed with weighted stuffing. In addition, so at the bottom there's a disc of either cardboard or plastic, depending on your preference. Then you curl up a pipe cleaner, and then roll it into a spiral, and then you stick it straight up. And then there's another disc in here, and there's like a hole in that disc, and you put the pipe cleaner through. There's a video. I talk you through it in the pattern as well. Anyways, so these are stuffed with both pipe cleaner and weighted stuffing. But the littlest one, it's like once the pipe cleaner's in there, there's no room to get weighted stuffing in. Like it's like it's a puffy thing, right? So what I do is I did is like I just cut you I have you cut a second bit of pipe cleaner that's shorter and just jam it in there. Um, and then this one can't stand on its own because it doesn't have the weight. I mean, it's so narrow. And I do have some ideas in the pattern for if you want it to stand on your own, its own, there are some things I think will help you. But because it's like just pipe cleaner, it's a little more bendable than the other
Mm.
ones. And I really took advantage of that for this one. Like the other samples
Yeah.
I have it standing a little more like this one. Whereas here I was just like, no, I like this like
Yeah.
really like mushrooms sometimes go wonky.
I love it.
Yeah, they are so sweet. And I think they're just a fantastic pattern. I'm not joking. Like I think I've done so well
Yes.
nailing this, that little bit of textured color work if you want to do it. Some people are doing beads where I tell you to do that. Other people are just going in and duplicate stitching. And there's also directions in the pattern for just skip it, make them all red. Like, don't
Yeah.
worry. You could go back, you could do French knots. There's all sorts of options, but I mean, I went with a knitted solution. I think a lot of knitters appreciate knitted solutions
Yeah.
rather than having to learn beading or embroidery. But I mean, there's, and okay, what made me really happy. So I went back and I did more leading men fiber arts, and I had already done, this is my third set with these two colors down here. And it's funny in the pictures, it doesn't look like this is the same color as the other mushrooms because the red is so powerful. It makes this look paler, which is really interesting about like color placement and color psychology. But I was looking through the minis I had from Leading Men as part of this designer in residence thing. And they didn't give me all of their colorways because I can't even remember how many they have. They have over 200 colorways, and I think I have 170 minis. So
Amazing.
silly thing. But they didn't have the red I thought I had. Their best red is poison apple, like
Mm.
chef's kiss. But this one is a little almost dustier looking, which is wild to say about a really strong red, but it is. And the colorway name is Clifford the Big Red Dog, and that just makes me happier too.
Yeah.
So,
Is,
so much fun.
is poison apple the color that you used for the gnomes on your gnome sweater?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Then that's why and it's funny because I was like, oh, I'm going through and I'm trying to figure out which color to get. And my friend Lisa, who's designed with them quite a lot, she's Paper Daisy Creations. She's like, their best red is poison apple.
Full
I was like, all
stop.
right, I've done my research. Like, we're good.
Yeah, nice.
All
How
right.
many whips do you have? 60.
Um,
5. Okay,
oh, that'll work really well.
ready?
That'll work really well. I'm gonna
Okay.
start. Gonna start with, so I'm trying to get, I don't like how many works in progress I have. It's just too many for me. So I was working on, ooh, I'll like finish. I had started this, so I finished it, got it off the needle. I had started the socks, like, ooh, I finished it. But it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, I'm so comfortable in this chair. I really don't want to get up and get one of my other projects, but I still want to keep knitting. So rather than reducing the number of whips, I just replaced because I just started knitting a gnome out of the sock
Oh,
yarn.
yeah.
So I'm having fun making a Moody in the Heart gnome here. Just kind of sketching and doodling with the yarn. I'm playing with the same, I don't have it anymore. Remember the rainbow gnome I knit?
Yeah.
Um, Last time I think it was like a rainbow self-striping, and then I switched to a blue body. And I've been playing around with ideas for, let's say you only had 20 grams of self-striping. Like, what would a one-piece body hat look
Mm,
like? How is this going to work? And so I obviously switched colors on that one because I'd already used that. I'd made socks out of that. I'd made something else out of it. And then I had a bit left for a hat. So
yeah.
now I'm sort of playing around with the gnome like a one piece one. But like I said, I just like didn't want to stop knitting that night, but didn't want to get up. So I think I got to here that evening. And then I've just been working on it in meetings all week. When you go on vacation, everybody needs to have a meeting with you. Um,
Yeah,
so this is my week of work knitting. I don't know if it counts, but I mean all gnomes are research,
oh, no, I'm so excited. Why aren't we recording? That would be a really great title.
you know.
Yeah,
Or t-shirt for me and only me. No one else needs that t-shirt.
it's true. Yeah. It's too bad Sandra's not doing her screen printing anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Before I share a whip, there's a question about yarn stores around Brandon. Are there any? I didn't think so. Congrats,
There
Natalie.
are some great ones. Oh yeah, that's great. The BU volleyball team is a great one from what I hear. The program is well run from what I hear. Again, I know more about the coaches and stuff on the women's side of the BU sports teams because I used to coach soccer. But yeah, it's a great university. Like it's not so big that people feel lost, if that makes sense, if you especially if you're coming from a smaller town in the prairies. Um, so basically, you're gonna need to go to Winnipeg. You're gonna go to Pearl and Hank, and you're gonna go to Wolseley Wool. Speaking of Pearl and Hank, it's local yarn store day. They're having a giant, very cool party. You should go, Katie.
Oh, all right. It's better than going to the new house and building an IKEA bed.
Yeah. Well, you could do that
I
afterwards or for supper.
I was gonna try to go this morning between Pilates and this, and we'd only managed to haul two of the bed boxes up from the main floor to the third floor before running out of steam the other day. So and they're labeled, and I've got box one and box two. I'm like, sweet, I can get this far. Yeah, you want to know where the instructions and all the fix-its were?
Yeah.
Box three.
Yeah, they're like they're not labeled for the order you use them. They're labeled for storage in the warehouse.
So I've now we got box three upstairs, and I've cracked into all of them, and there's like random pieces laying around the third floor, and going to Pearl and Hank sounds much more interesting than fighting with IKEA.
Yeah, and you definitely need to support Crystal and her very, very awesome business.
Yeah, I haven't been yet, so today's a good day to go.
She's
Do you want
got
to share another
her,
one, or should I?
you should.
Okay, this one's already been on screen momentarily, so here is The Snuggle is Real Part 2. So this is made with the Knitting Loft in-house yarn. These are both DK. This is espresso, and this is English toffee. Toffee something. Beautiful, caramelly, amazing, stunning color. And this is the project that I've been ignoring the most because I can. But I've made some good progress lately. So yeah, this is it. There will be a stockinette interior out of fingering weight in essentially this color but darker. So yeah, it's on the go. That's all I got.
My stitch count doesn't make any sense. How many stitches did I cast on for this sock? I thought I put what I thought was half the stitches, thinking it was a sock for me. It's not a sock for me. So
Uh-oh.
then it's a sock for Reiner. And I have, okay, I'm gonna do like this and see if my stitch count matches now. I don't think it does. Uh,
So Sarah's working on a sock and she's at the
I'm,
heel.
yeah, I'm ready to start the heel flap on the first sock. Here are the colors. This is
Ooh.
from Good Grief Yarn Company or Yarn Store in Toronto. The yarn is called Yarnalia or Yarnalia. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And despite being extremely green, it's called River. There is kind of a navy flare in places, but
Okay.
here's your river. Reiner picked this out for himself when I said I'm knitting moody socks for every whenever. Well, I'm in a moody mood, so don't buy colorful socks. And he scowled a bit, and he's like, but just because you're in the mood for moody doesn't mean I am. And I'm like, does it though? So here are his moody socks. I will probably take these as my one of four travel knitting projects that are going with me to Europe. And then he will get these at some point while we're there.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
Then you'll buy new
yeah,
sock yarn and cast on.
I will. I really love Lana Grossa sock yarn,
Yeah.
and Lana Grossa is one of those. It's like it's kind of like a slightly nicer Regia for those of you who've used that. I like the colors a bit better. I like the yarn feel a little bit better. Regia is a little hard on me at times because the way I wrap my yarn right
Little
around
scratchy.
here and like the skin is so thin next to the nail bed that I can like kind of like almost rub it raw
Yeah.
with harsher yarns. So like I don't knit with opal if I can avoid it. If someone
Mm.
gives it to me, I will knit it up, but I don't purchase it. Um, I'm delicate, or because I just hold my yarn like a goof.
Column A, column B.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I've got there is just this really simple yarn. And I had so many projects on the go. Like there's a bunch of stuff I can't talk about. I'm prototyping December gnomes. I'm prototyping other stuff. So in the background, I couldn't find any of my preferred 2 millimeter DPNs, which is
Yeah.
why I'm using these the pink ones from I have a set of zings. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
zings are very slippery and they're almost too slippery for gnomes. I do have them on hand because they often show up really well in tutorial videos.
Mm.
So depending on what I'm shooting,
Yeah.
I basically own these for tutorial videos and people are like, what are you using? And I'm like, I don't recommend it. You use this for a gnome, even though I'm showing you on a gnome.
Yeah. That's so funny. Do you
But
want to
they,
show another one since I only have two more to show?
um, yeah, let's do my Imagine Knitting project, which I did not finish in our timeline. And then so the Imagine Knitting Cal wrapped up. The prizes were announced on the audio podcast. So if you hope you were a winner, do go listen. We're going to give people a few weeks to listen, and then at some point while I'm traveling, I will email people who have not contacted us. Or I will wait till I get back because I might forget. Um, so I took the project with me up to the Make on the Lake retreat, which Pearl and Hank and Longway Homestead, among others, put on in the beginning of April. And it was a great retreat. And they had some workshops and some fun. And people were like, oh, what workshops are you taking? And I would say, I'm here to finish this cardigan and make friends. So I'm just knitting and talking. I'm not learning.
You made friends, but you didn't finish the cardigan.
Got really close though. Finished the whole second sleeve and one of the button bands.
Woohoo!
Think I'm even ready to bind off the button band or have started. I can't remember because I basically got home and was like,
Time to do
get to
other
work.
stuff. Yeah.
So where am I here? Nope. That's the bottom. That's the neckline. Okay. Yeah. I decided to do the side that wouldn't need buttonholes so that while I was talking and working on the blackest yarn, um, ever that I didn't have to worry about placement of buttons. I also didn't find buttons in time, so I don't know how many I have and how big
Um,
they are and. So let me show you my black project.
there we go.
It's a button band. It's pretty close to being ready to bind off. I am a little concerned. Can you see how? Here's where the hem button, the hem ribbing ends here.
Yeah.
And you can see how it bows in here. There are some tricks for fixing that, one of which I remembered after I knit 2 rows. And what you do is, so rather than picking up just along the edge, so let's say this is my pickup and I pick up all along the edge. If you pick up kind of around the corner,
Mm,
it can help straighten that out. And I forgot about that. And then I think you can slip the first stitch every like on the right side rows or something like that. I didn't do that. And so what I might do is block this and then go to Europe and see what I think when I come back. And then if it's good as is, like if it blocked off straight, I'll just be fine, or I might just rip it out and not bind it off. So I'm gonna probably leave it on the needles and just go. But I mean, like these needles, this was so ridiculous. I'm knitting the ribbing on two
Black
millimeter needles.
needles.
Yeah, they're actually dark green. But yeah, really dark needles that are 2 millimeters because I am a loose enough knitter and the gauge is actually tight enough, which I love. But yeah, I also didn't completely bind off the sleeves. We talked about this
Hmm.
um, last time, but because the neckline and the finishing here can change where the sleeve sits on the shoulder, that also changes the sleeve length. And I really want to get the sleeve length right and not end up with them too short or too long. So both sleeves have not been finished and they're just one sleeve is on needles and one sleeve is on scrap yarn. And I have not tried this on yet. So this
Ooh.
is, oh shoot. I like sewed it shut kind of a deal with well, not sewed it shut, but I've got um removable stitch markers basically pinning it shut. So oh, that was an elegant moment.
Uh-huh.
I will not be trying it on camera fully, but you know,
Looks
pretty
nice.
fat content visible in terms of
Yeah,
video.
looks good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it feels good.
More important. Well, both are important, equally important.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy, but also a little stymied. So it just has sat for 3 weeks now,
Yeah.
because that's what has to happen sometimes. So it's just going to keep sitting. Although, like I said, I think I will throw it in the wash, not wash. I'll soak it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll think about this. I got a whole ball of yarn attached in that one sleeve. That's one reason why it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I like tucked the ball up.
Yeah, so it wouldn't fall all over the place. Very smart. Ah.
So,
All right. I have two more to go. So I'm going to show the tunnel vision sweater, which has one bound off sleeve.
ooh,
But as I said in the audio podcast, I bound it off without trying it on. And I just kind of went for length, and possibly a ridiculous amount of length. So let's hope that I don't get my lipstick on it. I'm gonna try it on right now. And we'll see how this goes. Oh, I gotta turn it inside out first because it's a reverse stockinette. And knit it stockinette so you don't purl forever, which I appreciate because that motion, too much purling, actually makes my forearm hurt. Okay. Ooh. Nope. Oh, maybe I should have done this first to determine if I even wanted to try this. Okay. So, oh, I really do like this collar.
yep. Collar's looking
Yeah,
good.
we got a little bit of a, oh yeah, there's a little, I changed yarn right there. And here's my sleeve. That's
Yeah.
actually, this is my finger. That's actually not too bad if I want to
What
fold
do
this
you mean
back.
it's not too bad? Was this not supposed to be your like work appropriate?
Yeah,
I feel like as soon as you've got a folded sleeve, that thing gets less work appropriate.
yeah. Well, that much folded. It's so comfy though. As somebody who has had broad shoulders and large boobs most of my life, having anything this long, I haven't had since I was like 12. It's just, there's something so like in the gut comfy about it. And twist yarn is so soft. But you're right. For this to be work appropriate, which it would be without this, I think I need to take it back to about here.
Yeah.
And then the fold will just be a little less.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take one of these off.
Or maybe even do it no fold.
Yeah, this is loose enough that I worry that if it is too close to like my actual wrist here, that I will just shove it up. And I want to try to actually keep this down.
Yeah.
I'll go back to here and bind off. I just got in the zone of knitting this.
Yeah. Well, and especially with worsted weight, it actually doesn't take long to go too
Well,
far.
and just 2 by 2 rib, like
Yeah.
it's such a long sleeve at that point that it was so easy to just flip it
Yeah.
back and forth. So, oh,
Yeah.
this is so comfy though. Oh, I'm gonna love wearing this.
Yeah. And it's such a great yellow.
I'm so glad it worked. It's actually close to the color that I think we're painting the second floor landing.
There you go. You'll be able to like do your FO picture like
Yeah. Okay, well, I offer to get out
Like
of
the
this.
Steve Martin Poirot, not Poirot, Clouseau, where
Yeah, yeah.
he's like flipping himself through the back of a studio a place, and he like on the front he's got the wallpaper, and on the back of him he's got like to blend in with the window, and he
You know,
just kind of like,
I still haven't seen that one.
oh wow. All right, so next
Honestly,
up,
never mind.
yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Where did my jacket go?
Okay, so I've got two travel knitting projects that are kind of, I mean, technically, because I cast on one as we were sitting here, technically they're on the needle, one of them at least. But I am cutting it a bit close. But I do want to talk about the travel knitting before I go. So the first one is I'm not even going to stop and count stitches, but I'm going to be knitting a hat. I have a winter. So some people are doing boxes of yarn that are not just Advent. They're sort of doing different themes throughout the year. There'll be like a Halloween box or a whatever box. My favorite dyer that does, I don't know how to describe this, the most perfect compilations of yarns that I've seen yet come from the Fiber Fox from the UK. And I was watching the reveal of her colors 2 Christmases ago as she was revealing her Advent,
Oh
and
yeah.
they were so good. And the photography was so good. Um, Man, I actually, that was one where after the Advent was over in January, she always opens a pre-order up and she'll tell you, like, these are the bases, these are the colors. You tell me how much you want me to dye of anything on what, and I will make it for you. So I ordered a brown and a gold to do a colorwork sweater, and that's something I need to get to. But she did like like winter court, summer court, spring and autumn court, like the fairy. Like I think the court thing is like the whole fae vibe,
Hey,
like
yeah.
Titania, that sort of thing. Anyways, the inspiration photos for the winter court blew me away so much. And I loved every one of her inspiration photos. And her inspiration photos are bang on. If there is a color represented in the inspiration photo, it will show up. Like she's not lying. Like if there's like icy pinks, there will be icy pinks. If there's what like so it's just yeah. And so it's all to say I bought the winter court and I really want to have something I can wear in winter where I'm a little more coordinated. Somehow my all my coordinated stuff just went missing or I lost one piece or something. So these, it's not a fade. It's like it's a cohesive grouping with like a gray family, a blue family, and a green family. And then so there's 12 minis and then big one big skein, 100 gram skein. And so I want to make a hat and a shawl that will I can put them on together and I'll just like whoo, look good. So the hat is what I've cast on here. And I have borrowed something from the embroidery people.
Yeah.
So I know what order I'm doing them in. Some of them are so close that like I'm like this little bit of yarn, like because it's like it's gray but speckles, but these speckles are blue. Nope, these speckles are brown or stealing
Green.
green or whatever. So it's like it's not always like going to be the easiest thing. But I also took pictures in order so I can go back to my camera or my project pages. So the hat. Let me see if I can get these facing the camera easily in my hands here. Woo! Nope,
Nope.
can't do it at all. All right, here are four plus the one I cast on with.
Nice.
So like they're all sort of, and the camera's really not, let's see if I turn this one off. Will we get better colors? Hang on here.
What pattern are you using for this?
I'm making up my own and possibly gonna publish it. So I'm taking
Nice.
good notes. So yeah, that's just a mess. Sorry about that. Um, there will be links in the project page, as well as some stuff coming up on the internet, the Instagram. So I was meaning to use 6 colors for the hat rather than using the main skein because I want them to coordinate. So bringing the main skein into both pieces is one way to do that. However, some of the minis were really close. The
Mm,
main skein is kind of it's a gray with some greenish bits and some bluish bits. And I
nice.
don't quite know how to describe it. It's very close though to some of the other colors. So I was like, well, why don't I just will use one of the minis as that color in my hat? So I wound it up and it was after lunch and I pulled it off and I wound it up and I was doing the thing where I tuck the end in and I had a really hot, fresh thing of tea and I dropped it in. And can you see?
Oh
You
no.
know how you can tea dye yarn?
Surprise.
So heat plus things with the right acid content can do this. So I once
Oh,
tea dyed yarn on
Sarah.
purpose and made a teddy bear for my mom who does like a teddy bear thing at
Yeah.
winter. So I have this.
What are you gonna do with it?
I I think it might still make an interesting colorway. Like it's now variegated in an unpredictable way, and maybe like a gnome, or I don't know. Maybe I just throw it out. Maybe I literally don't know. But yeah, I now have a really great icy gray and funny brown skein.
Oh no.
So that'll be staying in Canada.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's the hat. I really want because the hat's gonna be next to my face. I was very particular about which colors I chose. I
Yeah.
some greens can be a bit chancy for me, so I made sure to pick a charcoal and a very denim blue.
Smart.
And then the shawl, I actually want to ask for some advice. So I'm gonna do the main skein, the yeah, the main color. I'm gonna do it as probably garter ridges between
Yeah.
thinner stripes of the other colors. I really don't like shawls where it's just like, well, there aren't that many stitches in the triangular shawl here, so it's going to be like 40 rows of color
Yeah.
one and then 6 rows of color four at the edge of this of the shawl.
Yeah.
It does not do it for me. So I want to change colors much more frequently and reuse colors so that I can get like a look. So I'm thinking that I don't want skinny stripes on the hat though. So I'm thinking like 10 round stripes, which would be about this big
Hmm.
for each stripe. But I can't do that on the shawl because by the time you get to the bottom of the shawl,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. So I was thinking maybe 4 rows and then maybe do those stockinette with, so that's the question. So then do I do like 4 rows of stockinette and then a single garter ridge, 4 rows of stockinette, single garter ridge through the colors and just keep repeating them as I can. And then basically when I run out of yarn, depending on what I run out of, then just like use this till the end kind of an idea. but let
Mhm.
me see um, how many of these colors I can get in here. Oh, I'm yanking things off here. So this has a couple more of the greens in it because
Nice.
it's a little farther from my face.
Yep.
Although in winter, let's be honest, it's going to be right up here, but then my coat's going to be over top of it, zipped
Mm-hmm.
shut.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like this one is a really great green speckle.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
Um, so yeah, what do you think? All garter stitch or garter and stockinette?
Garter
Or
and
should the
stockinette.
main be stockinette and the other one be garter?
Garter and stockinette. Or garter and 2x2 rib.
Hmm.
Because you want the warmth of the air trapped against you, right?
Yeah.
Stockinette isn't dynamic in that way. And then it'll give it a little, it'll like, because if you just do stockinette in between the garter, it's just going to curl up and you'll lose some of the feature of that color. Whereas if you do a 2x2, it'll have
It'll,
the ability to stand still, like stand up on its
yeah.
own. Or as we were talking about in the audio, a broken rib.
Yeah.
And then maybe you do three, like six rows. No.
Gonna be dicey by the time I get to the edge. My friend Lisa just finished designing a shawl.
Okay.
So she was measuring
Yeah, yeah.
as we were talking. I'm also going to do a different shawl shape than I've done before. It's going to be very similar looking to a traditional triangle, which is like my favorite one to wear is a triangle, but there's going to be more increases at the top. So it's going to be, you're going to get more more width to depth than a traditional increase rate. But
So
it
it'll
does
just be
mean,
a little bit more of a narrower, like less deep
yeah,
shawl, but it'll be wider.
yeah.
Yeah.
It does mean that the way the rows work out, the math is a little less friendly to
Predictable.
knee gains.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, what I want to do is I want to get both the hat and the shawl started and at least a little ways in before I get on the plane.
Makes sense.
I don't know that I'd bring both on the plane. I think I would probably bring the sock and maybe the shawl because the shawl would be like variable in the knitting. And if I'm needing like, oh, this isn't going well, I need something to distract me, I can use the
Yeah.
shawl. And then if I need like the, oh, it's just comfort zone, then that's the sock. This is also the direction where you're supposed to sleep.
Right.
So two projects might be silly, but when did that ever stop a knitter?
Right.
Never, never,
Yeah.
never. So I've also got my little color thing.
I love it. I love it. That's such a good idea.
But it's like it's some of these colors are so close that it's still kind of silly. But at least it
Mhm.
lets me know roughly which one to be looking for.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I
you
have
really
one
like the
more.
idea of themed collections other than Christmas. Yeah, Judy, I think it's really smart. I mean, from a business perspective, dyers are always looking for ways to convince people that it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I love having the idea of having a set of colors that I know are going to be cohesive and fun or whatever. Maybe not cohesive, but they're all going to be like the brightest thing ever or whatever the thing that is. And just to know that I've got a bunch of yarns that I can play with and mix and match, even if I'm going to end up doing striped socks with them or gnomes or color work in a sweater or something, but just to have these little things and like to spread the special out. Because I mean, some people I've seen are opening like 6 or 8 advents a day at Christmas.
So
And
many.
then like it's just a barren wasteland for the rest of the year while they desperately try to knit up all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like, why not just like space it out? So yeah, the if you are in Europe or the UK, the Fiber Fox is someone you should be checking out. Those of us in North America, the shipping is not a small expense. This was a splurge for me. Um, very splurgy.
Yeah.
But I didn't do Advents last year. And I'm also not doing it this year. I was really tempted when she started showing the announcements for her Advent. I was like, oh no, what if I'm tempted this year? And then like the first or second picture, for her inspiration involved these icy frosty pinks. I was like, hooray! I'm
Out.
not tempted anymore.
That's so funny. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I've got to get that started, like the little garter tab cast on and then just get going. I think I'm going to start in the mini color rather than the main color. A lot of things would start in that, but
Yeah.
I want the main color more to break up the other colors than to be a chunk of anything, even if it's just that little bit right there. So
Yeah.
I am probably casting on in this today or tomorrow. We will see.
Nice.
Part of what this big trip that we're going on is it's our anniversary this year, 30 years, because we got married when we were babies.
Yeah, you did.
And we're going to Italy and we're going on one of those bike tours where someone else takes your suitcases from hotel to hotel. And I'm biking a lot this week to sort of like mimic the week we're going to have there. So I've been biking a lot and hard. Um, Yesterday I did 75K in 2.5 hours. It's the hardest ride I think I've ever done.
Wow.
Like I pushed myself cardio-wise. Like often on a long ride, I'll just kind of cut back. And unlike, so running is funny because running to be running is always hard for me. I can switch to walking, but then I'm not running. But all of biking is biking, whether you're going kind of like more like at a walking speed or at a running speed. So I basically did an all running workout yesterday for
Yeah.
75K. And today I'm tired. And tomorrow I'm doing 100K.
And you
But
leave 2 days after that?
yeah. And we also haven't biked outdoors yet. So then after tomorrow's big ride, we have to get our bikes off the trainers and go outside so we remember about like falling over. Because right now we can't fall over
Oh,
and
yeah.
braking and like things like, oh, there's traffic. How do you judge how fast they're coming? So we're gonna go for like a
Oh,
couple of little rides leading up to it and then be like, hope we don't die in Italy.
oh my gosh. I'm so excited for this trip for you.
I am so excited. I am actually taking that week is a zero work week. I
Good.
will not open my email. I will not check Ravelry.
Yeah,
I've never done,
good
and
for
I'm
you.
not going to do even design knitting. It's going to be like perfectly
Yeah, just do it.
perfectly carved out. I have to do some design knitting, which is my fourth project, right? I've got sock, hat, shawl, prototyping, a gnome, which means I have to travel with stuffing, and it's so weird. Um, but Italy, boxed off.
Yeah.
So,
I got one more whip. You got one more whip?
nope, I did two in one
Okay.
with the
So
travel knitting.
we chatted on the audio podcast about nobody who's been listening is at all surprised. I'm nesting like crazy. We have the house. I'm wanting to do things. I would love to just quit my job and do nothing but like make this house a home.
Yeah,
Full on. Really excited about having stepkids and all of that stuff. And also like there's other life stuff going on. And so there's a lot. I am dreading packing again. And so we were talking about how I just want to make something fairly simple, but that will be a larger project that will get me through most of this and also will be for the house. And so, Sarah, you gave me a ginger snap kind of neon zebra stripe rainbow set. And so after we recorded, you and I stayed on for a bit and kind of shared some projects back and forth and some ideas. And we talked a little bit, I think, on the podcast as well about it. No, I know we did. And you, I think, found this. Yeah, you found this pattern. And it's called Knit Vent. It's like it's made for an Advent set. But what I really appreciate is the designer has included instructions for how to make it more. Just like know what percentage of your yarn that you need, that you have, or like whatever. At this percentage of your yarn usage, switch to doing
yeah.
decreases. So I cast on a blanket yesterday while working from home, and it is going so well. Look at this, Sarah.
Oh wow. That is so fun.
So, like you, I am not a fan of the stripes that get really thin and really thick. And so I'm changing colors every two. You can see some of the zebra stripes showing up in there already. And this pattern has yarn over row that you're supposed to do every 10 rows. But I decided to just do it at the beginning of every, like at the transition from purple to red.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so it's every 12 rows instead of every 10 rows. Um, and I will say I had an extra stitch. You're supposed to do like a yarn over knit two together, and I had only one stitch after doing one of them.
Yep.
So I can't imagine, like, I don't, anyway, I just like did the yarn over and then ate the extra stitch on the way back so that I still had like the right number. I didn't increase three stitches instead of two
Right.
because I'm still in the increase rows. But yeah, so this is going really well. It is, as usual, in this space blowing out a little bit. It is very bright. It is
Do you want
quite
to hold up one of
neon.
the balls? Because it's blowing out enough that I think the zebra reference is going to be lost for people. There you go. So it's a marled yarn that sometimes is marled and sometimes it's like held against each other. Like the color is purple against purple, except where it's purple against black.
Yeah, so it's very, very bright and exciting. And oh my goodness, so soft.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was expecting it to be a little,
Regia?
yeah, I was, and it is so soft. Like at first I was like, and then I'll throw it down the rec room with the kids. And now I'm like, this is gonna stay in the adults only, not adults only, but like in the living room
Yeah.
where it's not gonna get thrown around quite as much.
Where
Um,
teenage boys aren't having sleepovers with other boys playing video games for 7 hours straight
yeah,
and
yeah,
eating cheesy whatever.
yeah, yeah. This will be up on the adult room where
That's
I,
really great. So yeah, the habitation throw is from Helen Stewart, if you guys are
yeah,
um, wondering where that one's from.
yeah. So yeah,
Um,
I'm really enjoying knitting it. It's
I'm
very
glad to see you don't have
simple.
ends to weave in because that is a lot of changing colors if you're not weaving in ends.
Yeah, so I'm just doing the magic knot, same as I did for oh, I can't remember the name of the pattern, but I did a big, it was published in Knit Picks with Knit Picks yarn where it's big kind of rainbow
Oh,
um
the zigzag chevron wrap.
that and I discovered then that if you're 6 stitches from the end and you wrap your yarn around your needle about the width of a stitch and do it 6 times and then cut the yarn like this far from here and then tie your magic knot, your knot ends at the end or really close to the end. And so I've just been doing that. And what I do like is you're talking about a garter tab cast on. This actually had an I-cord cast on,
Yeah.
which was interesting. And then there's a little
Integrated
knitted
I-cord edge.
knitted on I-cord edge
Yeah.
just by like alternating what you slip and what you knit.
Yeah.
And I gonna have to force myself to stop and cast on, pick up the sleeve stitches for the tunnel vision,
Mm.
because I just want to work on this.
There is something so very compelling about the start of a rainbow project.
Mhm. And because I'm just doing 2 garter rows, like the 4 rows go really fast right now.
Yeah.
I will say, so Sarah gifted this to me, and I don't know if it shows up, but the yellow is a bit plumper than the red because Sarah had swatched. She caked this one up and swatched with it.
Yeah.
And so this one has 93 grams and the other ones all have 100 or 101. So this is the one that I based the percentage on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, last night there was a little one of the local community centers, I guess, has a monthly movie night on like a big inflated movie screen. And they
Hmm.
did The Princess Bride, which I don't think I've ever seen on a big screen. It was really fun. There was like community kids. They brought blankets in their PJs and they like laid on the floor and ran around because it was a gym and the adults all like howled at the right spots and sometimes people were saying lines along. And so I brought that along and kind of got a little bit of extra done there, which is really kind of sweet too.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's it. I forgot that it's the Yarn Note LYS day, and I've got plans to go to Activate tonight and then out for dinner. So I should probably get going to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I've got I'm
Packing.
making cinnamon rolls, but the cheesy garlic version for a potluck tonight. So I've got to go like do things with
Delicious.
yeast.
Nice.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's wonderful to have your responses and your reactions and your questions to answer if we are vague or confusing in some spots. We hope you all have a fantastic May and June because we're not going to be back on YouTube until July. I think 7th is the first time we're getting together. The audio podcast is also going on a bit of a hiatus while we're traveling, just for true hiatusness for both travel and move reasons. So we will be on Instagram for those of you who need to chat with us. I will be in and out of Ravelry as certain weeks dictate. But thank you so much for being here. Happy knitting and have a great time.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Seriously love it when you show up and hang out with us. But yeah, happy knitting, and we will see you in